Does this happen to you?
Mufasa.
What's up guys, I'm Zach Heidi, and this is gonna be the first video of what I hope is a monthly, ongoing film scoring series. I'm gonna be taking a look at a scene from a movie that I particularly like, and we'll talk about what makes the music so great in that moment. To avoid any copyright issues for each of these scenes, I've prepared my own mock-up, which is available to all of my patrons at the $10 and up level. Both of the links will be in the description so you can check those out, and if you enjoy this kind of content, leave a like and subscribe for more. The Lion King, even today, is considered one of the best animated movies ever made, and in my opinion, has one of the most heartbreaking scenes you could imagine. For a movie about Africa, the score is surprisingly Germanic, and there's a reason for that. Zimmer claims in a lot of interviews that he actually wrote the score for his father, who passed away when he was a teenager. He treated the score kind of like a requiem for his father, and talking about the father-son relationship. And in this pivotal scene in the movie, he actually borrows from Mozart's Ave Verum Corpus. Now before we actually dig into the details and talk about the cue, there's gonna be a couple spoilers in this video, so if you haven't seen The Lion King before, just send me the address of the rock that you're living under. So I'm gonna play the music side by side by the scene so you can see how it goes. Grab your popcorn, grab your tissues, let's get rolling. There's so much that makes this cue so powerful, so we're gonna talk about a couple different sections here. Let's start by just talking about the melody, the presentation of the ideas, and the harmony. We enter with a single voice and then work our way into 4-part harmony, which kind of reminds us of church hymns. Now from here we move into a minor context, but it still has this sweetness to it. Now that's our first real true cadence here, but Zimmer then moves this into a dominant 7 chord, which seems to pull us into a new direction. And here is where Zimmer uses Mozart's Ave Verum Corpus, right when Simba says, "Dad." Now this chord that's coming up is very, very powerful, and Zimmer talked about this in an interview. He talked about how this next chord for him has this kind of obscurity. I mean, it is minor, but it almost doesn't sound minor. It has sort of a pull that oddly feels major. And then we get this absolutely beautiful cadence into our A major add 9 chord. It's almost a jazzy chord, but in this context has such a lush feel. Now here, Simba says, "Help, anybody." And we move into a minor context, and now we realize that his cries are hopeless. Next we get introduced into a theme that sort of represents Mufasa in a way, but also represents this relationship that Mufasa has with Simba. I think the first time we hear this music is when Mufasa is presenting the land to Simba, saying, "One day all of this will be yours." Now, I think the reason why Zimmer did this is to show that Simba has now inherited the land, that Simba is left alone for himself, and he's beginning to realize what a responsibility he now has. Now, I ended this cue here on an E5 chord, where it doesn't sound quite major or minor. But in the original movie, the cue actually keeps going because Scar walks up and we're not done with the story yet. That's a basic overview of the melody and the harmony. It's absolutely gorgeous on its own and really could serve even as a solo piano piece. But it's the orchestration that adds that extra level of emotion. Now, to talk about the orchestration, I'm going to reference this score. I actually transcribed it myself. It was a bit of a pain in the butt, but it's really fun to do. Music Notes has enabled me to publish these, so you can check it out in the description, or you can watch here. Now, Zimmer starts the cue off with strings, just muted strings. The mute kind of adds this strained, thin quality to strings, and in this case works really well. Now, as the cue begins to make its way into the movie, we start to add some extra elements, some slow, lower strings, some choir just oohing to support that. And the first real orchestral entrance, I think, comes with the solo flute. The solo flute adds this kind of like innocence and melancholy, and I think is especially powerful because it makes us realize subconsciously that Simba's just a child, or an animal child. That soloistic quality of the flute just reminds us kind of that he's young and that he's alone. Now, this kind of orchestration goes for quite a while because the music is just so beautiful, it doesn't really need much orchestrational changes. Choir goes from singing ooh to ah, which opens it up, gives it a bit more warmth and brightness to it, almost like an organ kind of changing its stops. Now, my favorite orchestrational moment in this piece is right at the climax, when the celli actually split sections. They go divisi, and the first half of the celli play this gorgeous upper line cascading down. It has this sense of peak sorrow that just kind of falls down like a big sigh. And to support that moment, we have a very subtle horn that comes in. The horns have an especially kind of stoic quality, almost like a funeral march. And the trombones add just this extra push of death. Then we have the orchestration that kind of comes to resemble the beginning of the piece, almost like we're going in full circle. And then we have this classic like 90s pan flute sound by a synth that is somewhat cheesy, but also just works. So now that you've heard what makes this piece so evocative, I'd actually like to play it for you one more time. See if you can pick up on all the nuances that Zimmer does to make this thing so powerful and tear-evoking. Now, if you're interested in mockup creation like this, I actually stream on Twitch making these mockups. So you can check me out on Wednesday at 11 a.m. PST. Sometimes I stream at different times, but that's generally when I try to stream. You can join me there, say hi, ask me questions about my process. It should be fun. If you enjoyed this kind of content, again, please like, it really helps me out. These videos are a ton of work actually, but really fun to do. Subscribe for more content like this, and be sure to follow my Twitter where every month I'm gonna post a poll so you can decide what cue you'd like me to analyze next. It's really fun to analyze music like this. I just love it so much, and I love understanding what makes it so emotional for us as viewers. Hope you found it interesting too. Thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.